the peplum, which is essentially a full circle that I would gather into this waistband here. Previously on my wedding series. So I think this is a much better view. So this is the fit of the dress. I actually love the fact that it's like I can barely breathe. Today is the 19th of July and I'm this close to having a mental breakdown.
I don't know where you came from. I don't know what you did to my heart. You touched my soul like a phantom.
Good morning guys and welcome back to another episode of the wedding / bridal series. In this video I am going to be making a detachable train that goes on the back of my wedding dress. This I kept going back and forth and if I wanted it, if it was too much, if I was being extra, but I think it's actually going to be a great addition, especially for photos, like on the cascading on like a staircase. I think it would be really amazing. So I'm going to be doing that in this video today. This video should go up after my wedding dress or just after the wedding vlog, one of the two. But anyways, I'm going to be draping this piece on the mannequin. I feel like it would be the best way to get the volume that I am after. Okay, so if you'd like to see how I make this detachable train, make sure to keep on watching. If you do enjoy this video, if you are enjoying this series, give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's get into this video. So I have my materials here. I'm just going to be talking you guys through what I will be using. If I use anything extra, I will show you as I progress. But the main fabric I'm going to be using is this creped back satin, which I actually use to line the main lace of the wedding dress. This one is white and it has a really nice body. It's not silk, but it has like a very nice volume and shine that I think would be amazing for the train. I have 5 meters here. I have about 3 to 4 more meters on the roll and I'm hoping it will be enough. At the end, I'll let you guys know the total amount of fabric that I use because I do want it to be long but not too long. So I want it to have body and length and really drag on the ground well. The second thing I'm going to be using is this lace trim. I think it's called the Princess Jasmine lace trim or so. So that is what it looks like. It has a rounded scallop edge on the bottom and it has some sequins and beads. That's the lace trim I'm going to be using. This lace trim I actually use on the bottom hem of my main wedding dress. So I thought it would be great to use on the peplum detail that I plan to add and maybe on the waistline itself. We'll see. I got about 4 meters here because I did just know how much I needed, so I just got 4 meters and it's something that even if I don't use all up for this project, I can use in the future for myself or for a client. This hook and buckle, I think it's called a hook and buckle set. This one comes with, I think there are 4, I think it's three pairs. So my plan is to put a set on the side and on the center back, so that is how the train is attached to the wedding dress. So those are the main materials I'm going to be using, and the style that I am thinking about doing is I'm going to cut a circle skirt, 3 circle skirts, and then gather them into the waistline. And then I think I want to add like a peplum on top. So you have that peplum on top, you have the full train underneath, and then I'm going to use some of this lace trim along the edge of the peplum and along the waistline that will be attached to the wedding dress. But I'm going to get started. My wedding is in 4 days. And you can already tell that I'm trying to just stay calm. I'm trying to stay zen and I'm trying not to get worked up. I'm just going to just get the task done. So when the day arrives, everything is ready. So I'm going to try and finish this between today and tomorrow so I can crack on with the other things I have to do for the wedding. Okay, let's get into this tutorial. I'm going to take you to the studio now and show you how I cut the circle skirts and how I sort of like pin and drape everything on the mannequin. All right, let's go. So I'm going to start off with cutting the peplum of the train, and I folded my fabric twice, so I have two folded edges, and that would give me a full circle. Now from the corner of the edge I have marked 4.6 inches, which is the radius of my waist, and if you look on the right side of the screen, that was how I arrived at that 4.6. I recommend you work with yours for the best outcome. The peplum itself is 10 inches wide, and once you have that marked in place, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. Now I cut out two pieces of this full circular piece because I want to be able to like sew the bottom, then turn it inside out before fixing it into the waistband. Now that's the first piece all cut out. The next thing I'm going to be cutting is the actual main train itself. It's about a quarter circle. What I did was from the edge I marked a quarter of my waist measurement and lifted it up so we have a curvature happening on the side, and then I just like basically did a straight-ish line from the waist down to the hem, and the train itself is about 70 inches long. I wanted it long enough to like rub the ground and pull nicely behind my dress, but not too long that I won't be able to work with. So I'm done cutting down all of the pieces for the train. The first thing here is the waistband, which I just cut on a fold. This measures about 16 inches because I'm going to stitch the sides here and there, turn it inside out, and then attach the train to this bottom edge. So this is only going to sit on the back of the dress, not around my waist. So that's the first piece here. The peplum, which is essentially a full circle that I would gather into this waistband here. I have cut two because I want to stitch the bottom close, turn it inside out, give it a nice press before gathering it into the waistline of the waistband. Then here I have cut, I would say a quarter circle. The fabric wasn't wide enough to cut like a half circle or like a full circle. I just made it work, and I cut six panels. So I'm going to join 3 panels to make the whole train, and it's going to have like an outer layer and an inner layer, so it's like fully lined, turned inside out, and has a clean, beautiful hemline. So I'm just going to start sewing the outer shell first, gather it into the waistband, and then I'll most likely pin it on the mannequin so you see what the volume and the flow looks like. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to start off by pinning right sides together of the main train panels, and you need to do this for the outer set of panels and the inner set, so that way you're able to join up the sides and then join up the bottom and the side edges, turn it inside out, give it a nice press before you fix it to the waistband. Now I'm going to be sewing on a 1 centimeter seam allowance using a normal straight stitch, joining the 3 pieces of train sort of panels together in place. You need to do this for your outer shell and your lining as well. You also need to join the peplum with right sides together along the open edge, around the bottom and up the other side of the edge. This you would need to stitch on a 1 centimeter seam allowance using a normal straight stitch, turn it inside out, give it a nice press, ready to be attached to the waistband. Now the waistband, you would need to sew up the side like so and turn it inside out, trim off the corners, ready to be attached to the rest of the train. So after I've joined both layers, this is what the hem is looking like. So I just turned it inside out and pressed the bottom seam and the side seams. So that's all pressed, and I've pinned it on my mannequin so I can check the volume of the train. It's looking good so far. The next I'm going to do is to basically hand stitch. So I'm going to sew by hand. Wow, there's a lot of cars today. So I'm going to sew by hand along the waistline to create gathers. So I need to gather all of this in to the waistline or the waistband. Using needle and thread, I'm just going in to create fat stitches or loose stitches, and this is going to help me gather up the waistline of the train so it's nice and snug along the waistband. This I found to be a lot easier than going to do the looser stitch on my machine. It was just a lot quicker to create the gathers as I stitched along the way. Now my mannequin was very helpful doing this because I just pinned it along the waist and distributed the gathers evenly to the point that I was happy with it. Now this is what it is looking like. I have already stitched both layers together, turned it inside out before doing the gathering, and this is the volume so far. You see it's a really nice volume along the waist and along the bottom. Now I did the same gathering technique with my peplum, and I'm just going to pin it on the mannequin along the waistline like so. Now I pinned it in such a way that the waistline would fit into the waistband. Don't forget to also distribute the gathers evenly before going in to stitch both layers of the peplum and the actual main train. I found that just stitching them together first before sewing them into the waistband held the gathers in place and they didn't shift around because of this like basting stitch that I did. Now once that was done, I'm going to go ahead to join the waistband to the train, and I'm going to be doing this on one side first before going in again to use the other side of the waistband to finish it on the right side. Now once that is pinned in place, I'm going to take this to my machine to stitch. This was such a tricky seam because this was 5 layers of fabric and my machine wasn't having it, so at some point I just had to hand roll because it was a really thick seam. But I got there in the end, and once I was done stitching all those layers together, I then took the other side of the waistband, turned it and used it to conceal the seam. I folded it nice and neatly and then just added some pins to just keep it in place while I stitched on the machine. It was the same issue, it was really thick and I just had to hand roll at some point for the needle to actually move. But once that was all done, I grabbed some lace trim and pinned it to the right side of the waistband. Now you have the freedom to play around with the placement of your trim, but I folded it over the edges so that finishes off the waistband very nicely. This you can actually hand stitch into the waistband, but I was short of time and I just wanted to get this done as quickly as possible, so I just took it to my machine and I stitched in such a way that I avoided the beads, the sequins and any object that would break my needle. I did this twice to just hold the lace trim nicely to the waistband of the train. Once I was done doing that, I went ahead to also pin some lace trim along the hemline, so that's like the bottom of the main train. This one was fairly simple, fairly straightforward to do. I just added pins to prevent it from shifting around as I stitched it along. I decided not to add any lace trim on the peplum because it just looked a bit much, so I just saved it only for the waistband and then the actual hem of the train. I'm just going in here with my narrow footer to stitch the lace trim onto the hemline of the train. And the last step you will need to do is to fix the hook and buckle that would allow you to attach the detachable train onto the dress. Now be mindful of where you put this on both ends, so on the train and on the dress. I'm just stitching this part of the hook into the waistline first. I ended up stitching 3. By the end I ended up using only 2, the ones at the side alone. And then on the dress, ensure that the placement of the hooks is even on both sides, and I placed the buckles 8 inches under my armhole, which is just where my waistline is. Once I was done with that, the train is complete. It turned out so beautiful and it looked amazing in pictures. I'm glad I convinced myself enough to do this. Everyone was really impressed with how the entire wedding outfit turned out. Everything just worked so well together. The dress, the train and the veil, they worked so well in the sense that it created a very elegant and regal look. And I was just so happy, and I'm very proud of myself, if I'm being very honest. This was a project that I was very scared to do, but I'm glad I did, and it made my day a lot more special because I ended up wearing an outfit that I made myself. Like, that would forever be special to me. But if you guys enjoyed watching this video, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And until the next video of this series, have a good morning, afternoon, and evening wherever you are. Bye.